Hey, I'm Merle.
I'm Murray, and welcome back to Prairie Wings Performance.
In this video, we are going to grab onto the old controversy about LS engines, and that is, do we reuse the old cam bearings or do we put new ones in? I would really like if you would weigh in on this controversy. But as well in this video, we're going to cover the tools that we made to change these cam bearings, and we're going to show you some specifics on how to install them. In my hand, I have an original cam bearing, and the talk is that these cam bearings were put in and then machined or whatever afterwards. And if you look inside this cam bearing, you can see how lopsided and worn it looks. As well, I'd like to just highlight, it is a split bearing. So this bearing is rolled into this shape and sandwiched in together, and this is a bearing that is taken apart. And the reason that I have actually had this split is it had piled up and it was riding beside the cam bearing journal on the camshaft, and this damage here is from hitting the lifter. Now, the interesting thing about this is this engine ran fine, but it had low oil pressure. So in an LS engine, this would be a major oil leak in the block if it's missing. And we'll take a look inside the block and show you what we mean. There are 5 cam journals, and we are in the center one. This is the one that commonly spins in these engines. Now, if we look out at the front here, you can see that the oil hole in here, it is quite a big feed hole. And if we take a look at the cam bearing itself, so the original bearing in here, the hole is tiny. And when we take and put this in, we have to line it up with this hole. So it's very important, because if you look at the size of this hole, if this is completely out, it's going to have a problem where the hole is now this thick all the way around the camshaft that we're going to have a major oil leak. Will it still have oil pressure? Yeah, but it's probably going to be low at idle. The original cam bearing in this engine, you can see that it actually has 2 holes, but there's only 1 feed hole. So it is very important that you mark these and you put this hole directly in line with one of those oil feed galleries. You're going to want to look and mark the entire block when you do that. If this cam bearing is missing, that's going to cause a major oil leak.
So that's the debate, isn't it? Lots of people say to leave them, but what happens when they're pooched?
Yeah, what happens when they're pooched? So I've heard of people saying, well, the cam bearing's wrecked, and they try and look for another block, which maybe in an aluminum one, if it's spun, might be a problem, and if you have an aluminum block. But in these, I mean, we should be changing the bearings in my opinion, because we did actually, that's the story. I opened up one engine because I hurt an engine, and I saw cam bearings pooched. Because I have more, I thought, you know what? I just want to check this out, put it back in, not even do a rebuild. So I grabbed the next engine, and guess what? 2 cam bearings. One was totally spun out, one was part way out. So what do? Well, we just buy the bearings and put them in. In the case where a bore is bad, well, the cam bearings in an LS are staged on the factory blocks. So the middle cam bearings are the same, almost identical, the same diameter. So the middle cam bearing in this set, which this set is an older LQ4 set, LQ9, any of these older Gen 3, they came with a different bore size, but the center one so this is a 05 to 07 set. This and this are the same OD, even though the rest of these bearings aren't. So if you do have in an older block a bearing that's spun, you could actually grab one of these sets, put this bearing in the middle, because it's actually wider. So if there is some block damage, you know, you could probably get away with it. And even in these newer ones, if we take a look, the original cam bearings are narrower. So the updated ones are wider as well. So if you end up having a problem, well, this set is going to fix it. And this is the set for the newer cam bearing sizes. These LS blocks, they come machined. So first of all, I believe the way it looks is the cam bores are machined first, and then this is machined off, because when we start doing this build, and any LS that you end up doing, if you pull a cam bearing out, you're going to feel that there's quite a burr on here. And if you look really close in there, you're going to see that that burr is actually a chamfer now. And I'm going to actually turn this over to Marie, because this is her first full engine build and she's doing it. And I'll have her explain what she did and why.
Yeah, so on both sides of the engine, I put this little chamfer all the way around, because that's the way that you put the bearings in. If you look at the ones that already have it, this one has it on this side, but then this one doesn't have it on this side. It's actually on the other side there, if you see that there. And same with this one.
Okay, and then the other side of the engine where you have also this chamfered.
Yes.
So if we're looking at this LS block, we are at the back of the block right now. So this cam bearing is going to get pulled in from this direction.
Mm-hmm.
The next one, it's going to get pulled in from this direction. And then the front three are all going to be pulled in from the front because of the chamfers that the block already has and the ones that we created. Normally when you install cam bearings, you actually have a driver set up and you put the cam bearings in and you hammer them in with the driver. I prefer to pull a cam bearing in. Now on this LS especially, because of wanting to make sure that everything goes in nice and straight. Marie, can you tell me what this is right here?
That is the ends off of the camshafts.
Yeah, so this is the back end of the camshaft. And this is the front end of the camshaft. And if you look here, this is a 3-hole camshaft. And all I did is I took and CNC'd out a plate. And then I turned it in the lathe after it was bolted on here, so that we have a tool that will actually pull the bearing in. I put a little spacer in because of that bolt so that I can actually tighten this in. So as we put the cam bearings in, we're going to set them on here and we're going to pull them in. And we'll take a look inside the block so that I can show you how I clearance this, because not everybody's going to have a lathe, but I'm sure that you're creative enough that you can get by without one. All right, I have the cam bearing and the piece on the tool where it rides and gets pulled in. Now, this is the front of the camshaft. This is the cam bearing. These cam bearings, the main journals on the camshaft are all the same size. So the inside diameter of these bearings are all the same. The outside diameter is different. So when you make this tool, you have to make it so that this will actually pull the bearing in. But this diameter is actually small enough that it will go through all the journals of the block. Okay, so the tool is in the smallest journal, which is in the middle one. And I actually have 2 thou of clearance in there. So you see it just goes through beautiful. And that's what you want to do, is make sure that that tool will fit through the tightest bore, which is the center one. Another controversy I would really like your opinion on. Do we use some sort of a sleeve locker like green Loctite when we put these bearings in, or do we lube them when we put them in? Well, I was always taught, and I went to trade school for it, I was taught that we lube these bearings when we put them in. Now, technology's changed since I went to trade school, and I'm not going to tell you when that was. It was a while ago. But I wanted to make sure that I was doing this right before I threw the video out. So I actually called the Durabond tech line, and they said cam bearings are designed to have crush. So that means that these bearings are actually larger diameter than what the hole in the block is. There is no need for thread locker in them. So they said you want to use some sort of light lubricant. That's the plan. That's what we're going to do. Here's the actual part numbers of the cam bearings. And if you notice, the outside ones in the box are actually the ones that go in the outside of the engine. So that is this. Then the mid ones, 2 and 4, are these ones. And then that smallest is the center bearing here. So we're going to put them in in the correct spots. Make sure you double check that these haven't been mixed up in the box.
So now I'm just marking the centers of the holes so we know where to line up the bearings. Then I'm going to mark them on the other side on these ones.
What you doing?
Just lubing up this hole.
You're putting a lot in there. You don't need that much.
Oops.
That's all good. How many times have you done this?
Never.
Perfect. So this is Maria's first build. She's got to do it. So lube the outside of the bearing, just a little bit. Okay, now you tell me what we're doing here.
So I'm just going to push this in, put the spacer and the nut on. Or not.
I'll hold this in so it doesn't spin.
There.
Okay.
And then we've got our line. We'll line it up.
Yep. Push it in to where it's... Is that where you want it?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. Now I'll hold this for you. Okay, I'm going to put a wrench on the other end of that rod and you can tighten and let's pull that in. Does it feel like it's changing at all or just pulling it in nice?
I think it's just pulling it in nice.
Perfect.
Can see it very slowly going.
Looks good. So you can go just a hair more. Okay. Now let's just look and make sure that that oil hole is lined up.
Right.
Okay, so back it off. I'll undo the nut off this end.
Okay.
And now, because we have a threaded rod, we have to be extremely important that we don't drag this rod across the bearings, right?
Right.
So, nice and slow, pull that rod out. Perfect.
So we got it lined up on this side with the line. And we're just gonna start. And this side, it's automatic.
It's a little easier with a ratchet. So I'll help you pull it in like this. How close am I?
Getting there.
Tell me when whoa.
That.
More?
Well, I can't see. Like this side.
Yeah,
is,
that looks good.
But I don't know the other side, so.
Okay, check that hole. Looks good.
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect. I'll double check. What are we doing here?
Greasing it up.
Cam lube. Now, you've never put a cam in before.
No.
And so this camshaft, we have to be careful that we don't drag these lobes across the bearings.
Right.
And then when we're assembling this, because this is going in and we're bagging it right now so that we can keep working on other parts, we'll lube these from the bottom. We'll turn it over and lube everything. Okay, so just slowly put that in. Okay, so this is where you be careful. Put your hand here, up here, this hand.
I can't.
Yeah, just let it down. Just don't drag it around. Yeah, and then, yeah, right there. And you just want to slowly feed it in. Good job. Yeah, that's great. So now move your hand and give the camshaft a rotate. Yep, it's perfect. There you go. Good job. So now pull this out and then, yep. So you got more leverage there. There you go. Good job. So now you're using this almost, yep. There you go. Great. Grab 2 hands out here. Put your hand on that low. Okay. A little tricky. Do you want me to help you? Oh, good job. Look at that. Those new cam bearings, do you think that they're in there straight?
I think so.
Do we need to do anything with it?
No.
It's perfect. How do those new cam bearings feel?
Awesome.
Awesome, awesome. We were working with this engine on the bench because it is way easier to put the cam bearings in where you can access both sides. We have it back on the engine stand where it would be near impossible to get the cam bearings in.
For the first time doing those bearings, it went pretty smooth, so I would do that one again.
You're a voter for changing them?
I think so, yeah.
Absolutely. It's pretty smooth operation. You don't have to spend a whole bunch of money for the tools. Just do your research to make sure you get the right cam bearings. And I would say this is something that I would recommend anyone to do. I wouldn't want to run those old bearings. They're probably at the point of failure anyway if it's a high mileage motor.
Make sure you leave those comments about whether or not you're a fan of changing them. And if you don't mind, please like, share, and subscribe and give us a little hype too. Thanks.